All right, good afternoon. Welcome. How is this? Is this on? All right. Good afternoon. Happy New Year. Welcome. It's a great turnout. Good to have council members come to their seats. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to welcome everybody, especially our newly elected council members. We're going to call today's first council meeting of 2023 to order, and clerk, may we please have the roll?
Kamei? Jimenez?
Present.
Torres? Cohen?
Here.
Ortiz?
Present.
Davis?
Here.
Doan?
Here.
Foley?
Here.
Mahan?
Here. Great. Sorry, if you're able, please join me in standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Now we will go to the invocation, which is presented today by Councilmember Ellen Kamei from District 1. We are going to be welcoming now Rinban Gerald Sakamoto of the San Jose Buddhist Church, Betsuan. Councilmember.
Thank you so much, Mayor Mahan. We welcome Rinban Gerald Sakamoto from the San Jose Betsuan. Rinban has been with the Betsuan since 1986. For over 30 years, he has seen transition and change, much like we now see in the San Jose City Council. May we keep that theme of transition and interdependency in our hearts and minds as Rinban leads us in the invocation. And it's Rosemary, not Ellen.
Oh my gosh. I apologize. I have known Councilmember Kamei's daughter as a friend for 20 years who happens to be Ellen. So my apologies, Councilmember.
Happy New Year and congratulations on being here on the council. As council members, you are stewards of an economically and ethnically diverse community, about one another, to see a broader world, to be a part of recognizing the importance and of the deep connection we share with the life around us. As city council members, your responsibility to manage this tremendous resource with compassion and kindness, we can bring hope to our community. As we begin this first council meeting since the new year, it is wonderful to see so many gathered here. As we conclude, I would like to close with an expression of gratitude and appreciation. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanta.
Thank you so much, Rinban.
Thank you for being here with us, Rinban, to start our first meeting of the year. We will now go on to ceremonial items, and we'll begin with the oaths of office for our newly elected council members. The city clerk will now conduct the oaths of office.
We're going to go in district order. So Councilmember Kamei, please come up to, or down here. And we're just going to go 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Did you have any family members you wanted to stand with you?
I'm here.
Okay, so raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Rosemary Kamei,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United
and
States
the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Can I
Councilmember
call-
Torres?
Yes, can I call my sister Jacqueline Torres up, please? I thought I saw her in the crowd. Oh, there's my sister. Hi, sister.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Omar Torres,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
So, let me get another stand.
I state your name.
I, Peter Ortiz,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and I take this obligation freely
And I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion.
and I will well and faithfully
And I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Hi, raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Biendon,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support
swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemy, foreign and domestic,
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of California,
Hold on. And I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
first
I
rodeo.
know. It's still exciting.
It's, okay, it's exciting.
I state
Thank you
your
all
name.
for being here.
Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Pam Foley,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
to support and defend
to support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith and allegiance
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
And I take this obligation freely
and I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental
or
reservation
purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And I will well and faithfully
and I will well and faithfully
discharge the duties
discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Congratulations to all of our newly sworn in council members. Really excited to serve with each of you. Welcome to the council. We're going to continue with ceremonial items, and Councilmember Foley, if you would, sorry, we can head back down to the podium where we will recognize the South Bay Clean Creeks Coalition.
What a great day to do this recognition. We've got creeks that are full of water, but eventually we're going to need these guys to do their cleanup again. So, Happy New Year, everyone. I'm excited to be back in 2023, and once again, I want to congratulate the newly elected council members and our new mayor. I look forward to collaborating with you all in the coming year. I'm also excited to welcome our first ceremonial of the year, the volunteers of the South Bay Clean Creeks Coalition. Joining us today, we have Josh, Jordan, Antonio, Yana, Ken, Aaron, Jennifer, along with Steve Holmes, the founder of the South Bay Clean Creeks Coalition. South Bay Clean Creeks Coalition, that's a mouthful, is a 501c3 organization dedicated to reclaiming, restoring, and revitalizing the creeks and rivers in the Santa Clara Valley watershed. Over the past 9 years, they've completed over 360 cleanup events and removed more than 576 tons of trash from our creeks and rivers. Absolutely. Early in the pandemic, my office had the pleasure to partner with the Clean Creeks Coalition, bringing out 125 volunteers and removing over 3 tons of debris from a section of the Guadalupe River. The Clean Creeks Coalition relies heavily on its volunteers as they perform regular creek cleanup events on the Las Gradas Creek, Guadalupe River, and on the Coyote Creek. These cleanups are generally organized under a Team 222 program. All they ask of you is 2 hours of your time. The second Saturday of every other month equals 222. The volunteers are, so I'm sure they're looking for more volunteers. That's why I put that out there. The volunteers are the heart of the organization. Without them, the Clean Creeks Coalition couldn't do what they do. Every little bit helps to reclaim and restore our creeks and rivers. Volunteers also exist within the Clean Creeks Coalition as team leaders or team captains. These are volunteers who have gained experience in cleaning up the rivers and creeks, and they are on-the-ground coordinators of the Team 222 efforts. They lead the groups the day of the cleanup and locate high-value cleanup spots like places that have been used as campsites or dumping grounds for household items. The volunteers are part of the heart of the organization. Without them, in the Clean Creeks Coalition couldn't do what they do. Every little bit helps to reclaim and restore our creeks and rivers. I'm grateful for your leadership and commitment to our community and our environment. I know my staff has enjoyed volunteering with the Clean Creeks Coalition each time they host a cleanup in our area. And for anyone interested in volunteering with this fine group, you can look them up on sbcleancreeks.com. Mr. Mayor, would you please present the commendations to this extraordinary group of individuals, and we have one for each of them. And Steve, would you like to come forward, or anyone else in your group who'd like to say a few words? And thank you for all that you do to keep our waters clear. Yana.
Yes.
Here, let me help you with that.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm just a newbie with this group, but I have to tell you that of all the volunteer groups I've ever worked with, this is one of the hardest working groups you've ever met. We go out there, I've learned more about the waterways and the rivers around here. We never talk about the river until it's flooding our homes. But all that trash that you see gets washed down the river and into the bay and then into the ocean. In this group, when you've seen how much trash we pick up, it's not just pounds, it becomes tons. And like you said, we're always looking for volunteers. And I want to thank this group for because like I said, I'm the newbie, for all the work that they've done, for Steve for setting it up. So I really appreciate this reward, and I appreciate their time and letting me into this fantastic group. Thank you very much.
Why don't we all come together for a photo?
Steve, are you going to say anything or no?
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Let's do that and then get a photo op.
So this all started about 10 years, this odyssey, and at the time I'm a fisherman, and I discovered that we have salmon coming up this waterway, and it really kind of shocked me that we had this resource. And so that led to this journey, and really there would have been no way that we could have accomplished what we've accomplished over the last 10 years had it not been for this core group of team leaders. And this is just part of that group. Typically, they show up, they do the work, and then they go home. And the work gets done, and we make progress along our streams. So I was glad to see that we had this many people. Incidentally, Yana, who spoke first here, she's our cookie lady. So after our cleanups, we always have some sort of a cookie, to enjoy after the cleanup. So I want to thank them all for all the dedication to what we do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great. Now I'd like to invite down Councilmember Davis to help recognize and proclaim the 2023 United States Figure Skating Championships.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to City Hall. Today I'm giving the proclamation to the San Jose Sports Authority in honor of the 2023 U.S. Figure Skating Championships, which are taking place at the SAP Center this month. I'd like to thank the San Jose Sports Authority. They are a small but mighty team. Carrie Benjamin, Darren Senti, they're here somewhere, and John Poach for joining us today to accept this proclamation. I'd also like to say that we are joined by Star Andrews, one of the skaters who will be competing at the event. Thank you for coming. The Sports Authority has done a lot of hard work in bringing world-class sporting events like the U.S. Figure Skating Championships to San Jose for many years. And of course, families, sports fans, and those of us on City Council enjoy watching the Figure Skating Championships. It's incredibly exciting to have the championships be hosted in San Jose again for the 4th time, and I hope many of you who are watching this meeting are going to buy tickets. The championships will be here January 23rd through the 29th, and you can buy tickets at skatesanjose2023.com so that you can attend in person at the SAP Center. Thank you, John and the Sports Authority, for putting San Jose on the map. Our local economy, our tourism, and our name as a city will greatly benefit from this event. This extra visibility also helps more residents be proud of where they live. And now I'd like to invite the Executive Director of the San Jose Sports Authority, John Poach, to say a few words.
Mayor Mahan, Councilmember Davis, and members of the City Council. On behalf of the San Jose Sports Authority, we thank you, the City of San Jose, the Office of Economic Development, Park, Rec, Neighborhood Services, Office of Cultural Affairs, for supporting our efforts to bid on these events to make San Jose a world-class city and a world-class sports destination. Our mission is simple: to create economic development, visibility, and marketing for the city of San Jose through sports. And we're honored for the 4th time to be able to host a USA Figure Skating National Champions with superstar Olympic hopeful right here, Star Andrews. So thank you, members of the council, all of the city agencies, and especially our partners, the San Jose Sharks, Sharks Ice, and all of you for making this San Jose such a great place to be, great place to live, and a great place to serve. Thank you.
Mayor, would you like to present the proclamation?
You know I have another one later in the month, right? When we do the inaugural. All right.
I forgot his oath.
Apparently I need to do another oath. Here we go. All right.
I state your name.
I, Matt Mahan,
Do solemnly swear.
do solemnly swear
To support and defend.
to support and defend
The Constitution of the United States.
the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California
Against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
And I will bear true faith and allegiance.
and I will bear true faith and allegiance
To the Constitution of the United States.
to the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of California.
and the Constitution of the State of California,
And I take this obligation freely.
and I take this obligation freely
Without any mental reservation.
without any mental reservation
Or purpose of evasion.
or purpose of evasion,
And I will well and faithfully.
and I will well and faithfully
Discharge the duties.
discharge the duties
Upon which I'm about to enter.
upon which I'm about to enter.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Okay, great. Thanks, everybody. So we're on to orders of the day. You will notice on the agenda that we have a late addition, which is item 3.5, ratification of a proclamation of local emergency, which we would like to add to the agenda. I would also, actually, I don't need a motion for anything else, so we'll entertain a motion on orders of the day.
Move approval.
Second.
Great. Okay, let's vote. Tony, it says roll call of members,
I know it's not letting me select any other topic. It
so we
may-
can vote on this, okay,
It doesn't record through here.
great.
That's everybody.
Great. Wonderful. Next, we have an adjournment. The meeting today will be Adjourned in honor and memory of Maria Marcelo, who was a District 3 resident and tireless community activist. Maria fought for the health and safety of immigrant families in the Washington Guadalupe neighborhood. I'd like to invite Councilmember Torres to share some remarks.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and congratulations to those who just got sworn in, my new colleagues and incoming council members as well. On December 7th, 2022, our community lost a true leader and champion of our people, Maria Marcelo. Maria spent decades fighting for families from the Washington area, or what its neighbors call La Wash, ensuring our community has the most essential needs. She served as Community Engagement Director of Healing Grove, a nonprofit center focused on providing holistic primary care to all residents. She was president of a very important Latina empowerment program called Madre a Madre, which she co-founded 15 years ago. But the role she played best in our lives was a tireless advocate and warrior for our community. Maria's impact on our community will not be forgotten. Just this past October, Maria brought back our infamous Washington Community Haunted House after 8 long years. She organized community donation drives, community posadas, events for Dia del Niño, food drives, ensured our kiddos had shoes and uniforms for our new school year, fought for our immigrant community, helped those that suffered from domestic violence and addiction, helped our unhoused residents, and so much more. I've personally known Maria nearly my entire life and will not be where I am without her guidance and selflessness. Maria never minced words, and we all know that, for those of you who know her, and would unapologetically put interest of her families before anything or anyone, including herself. When I think about power and strength, I think of Maria Marcelo. We all, as a community and as a city, must continue her fight day in, day out for our families, our immigrants, and other vulnerable populations. And while I, along with thousands, will mourn her passing, I am now further empowered to continue her legacy through my capacity as council member of her district, of our neighborhood, La Wash. Again, my deepest condolences to her family and entire Washington community. Que viva Maria Marcelo. And thank you. I've invited Councilmember Foley, who personally knew Maria Marcelo, her time on San Jose Unified School District, and as well as Councilmember Doan, because Healing Grove is actually in District 7, on Alma Avenue, and it borders 3 and 7. And so they're gonna also say a few words before we have Maria's daughter say a few words.
Thank you so much, and thank you for this tribute to Maria. A tremendous loss to our community. I've spent many hours of activism with Maria, with the Washington Elementary School area when I was on the school board, and I have a lot of stories that I won't go into detail right now, but she is tenacious, she was strong, a tremendous advocate for the kids and the people in the Washington community, and what a tremendous loss that this community has faced. But Omar, I know you're gonna carry on her torch, so good for you, and thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to share my thoughts and my love and my passion for Maria. What a huge, huge loss, but a huge force that we will not lose track of for a long, long time. Thank you.
I've had the few opportunity to meet Maria, and the few times that I met her, she was an incredible person. She oozed out this confidence, the caring about our community, not only the resident, but the unhoused residents. And she was very supportive of whoever come to her office. And I want to make sure that her legacy stays alive right here in District 7. I will work with our city councils and our mayor to make sure that her legacy continue. Thank you so much.
It warms my heart to know that the City Council is doing this in honor of my mom. I know she put in tireless hours of work. And like Omar said, it's about building a legacy now. You know, she isn't with us, unfortunately, but her work will continue. I'm going to be working alongside Healing Grove as part of their team now in order to ensure that my mom's work and all of her programs continue and that a change is made in our community.
Yeah, so Brett wanted me to announce, but Maria's daughter is now going to be working at Healing Grove, so another round of applause for Maria to continue her legacy. And right up here, we have a beautiful picture of Maria. It's very weird that she is smiling at an event because I know she, as soon as I walked into any event, she started bossing me around, but that's okay because that was Maria. So thank you.
Thank you, council members, for a beautiful tribute to a truly remarkable woman and community leader. And thank you to all of you in this room who are carrying on her work, thanks to her inspiration. We will move on to the closed session report. I'll ask the city attorney if she has anything to report.
Thank you, Mayor. We do not have a report out of closed session today.
Great, thank you. And now, per orders of the day, we're going to go to item 3.5, ratification of a proclamation of local emergency, and I'll turn it over to Kip.
And I'll turn it right over to Ray
Oh,
Reardon.
apologies.
No problem.
Thank you, Kip. Good afternoon, Mayor Mahan, council members, city executive staff, and residents of San Jose. I'm Ray Reardon, the Director of the Office of Emergency Management, here along with Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager. Today we're here to ratify the proclamation of a local emergency by the Emergency Service Director or the City Manager as according to City Code and State Code. Can we get this to? Can we get this to the first slide? Slide number 1. There you go. No, that's the last slide. There we go, thank you. A little bit of background. Mother Nature has listened to our requests and prayers for rain. Since Thanksgiving, the Bay Area has seen a significant rainfall. December alone for San Jose, we saw more than 50% more of normal rain. It created a scenario of saturated soils, swollen creeks and rivers, and the perfect situation for potential flooding. Our most vulnerable residents who live along the creeks and rivers were at risk. Our highest priority as public servants is to preserve life, property, and the environment. Throughout December, the City Manager's Office of Emergency Management monitored the storms with the National Weather Service, coordinated with Valley Water, to ensure that our systems were in place. With the incoming threat of the New Year's storms on December 30, the city activated its incident management team within the structure of the city's emergency operations plan. What this means is that we had regular communications with the key departments, with Valley Water, the National Weather Service, and the county. We gathered together those responsible to respond to the field to assess conditions and gather critical resources and help direct city resources to support noticing the unhoused and rallying resources for shelters. We continued strong, unprecedented collaboration with the National Weather Service, the Valley Water District, and the county to be sure we were all on the same page as the rain continued to fall on the already drenched, saturated soils. We continued this because of the threat of the continued heavy storms and the concern for loss of life in the waterways. The incident management team collaborated with the other departments to determine that a local emergency was appropriate and consulted with the city manager to sign a proclamation at 5:30 p.m. on January 3rd. To protect life, an evacuation order for those living in the creek was served in order to protect those lives. The highest priorities were to protect the lives of the most vulnerable, protect property from damage, protect the environment, and enhance communications. In respect to the lives of the most vulnerable, we really enhanced our coordination and communication and outreach to the unhoused. We established emergency powers to move more quickly and established mandatory evacuation of key areas for public safety. And we expanded our sheltering operations for the duration of the storm and the immediate aftermath. To protect property from damage, we ensured all critical city infrastructure was protected and functioned well. We monitored private property, both for the property of the unhoused and other areas affected by the flooding. We maintained streets from flooding and moving tree and debris, keeping those streets clear and routing traffic away from the areas that aren't safe. We monitored and responded to known hotspots, including but not limited to Ross Penitencia, Coyote, Los Gatos, and Fisher Creeks, and the Guadalupe River, and we mapped and tracked those resources. We continue to protect the environment by assisting to clean the waterways and clear waterways when possible and appropriate without endangering the lives of our staffs. We also protected the city parks and the streets, trees. In terms of communication and coordination, as I mentioned, we did work closely with our partner agencies, and we kept our partners and residents informed about the operations. Our request here today is to make sure that we do ratify the Emergency Services Director of the City Manager's proclamation of a local emergency. What this allows us to do is to ask for additional resources necessary from the state and the resources, and allows us also to gain resources from FEMA and reimbursement as appropriate. What we'd like to do is show a quick video of the response as it did take place, and then I'll turn it over to Kip to close it out.
As we experience this atmospheric river with more rain on the horizon, the City of San Jose stands ready to respond. Everyone's safety is our top priority. Our employees are currently on the front lines, ensuring all residents, including those in our most vulnerable communities, are safe and provided with much-needed services and resources. A 24-hour emergency evacuation center and warming centers are available throughout the city. We will continue to keep the community informed about the weather and critical resources through our social media, daily flash reports, and storm preparedness webpage. Our city employees are working diligently as one team, and together we'll continue to show compassion in action and remain strong as one community, our San Jose.
Thank you, everyone. Kip Harkness, Deputy
As
City...
we experience this atmosphere...
Upstaged by my own video. Thank you, everyone. Kip Harkness, Deputy City Manager, serving as the Emergency Operations Director for this event. And Mr. Mayor, members of the council, members of the public, there will be time in the future to do an after-action report and engage in a lot of conversation about what we learned and what we can do differently. What we're bringing you today is a very narrow request to ratify the city manager's proclamation. We'll continue to stay in tight communication with each of your offices and the community as we go forward, but what we're requesting today is simply approval to continue to what we're doing. We're in the active emergency right now in a virtual stand-up. I'm actually responding to incidents in the field as I'm speaking to you here. So our request is that we move this forward, and then we'll be back in the field and open to your feedback and guidance as we go forward in the future. With that, we'll close and take any questions that you might have of us.
Great. Thanks for that note, Kip. Thank you, Ray, for the update. Why don't we go first to public comment?
I have no hands or speaker cards for this item.
Okay, great. Coming back to council, and I'll just quickly, let me go to my council list here. I do want to just very quickly, Kip, as director of the OC over the last week, and Ray in your role, and all of our partners really did a tremendous job. This was a case where I think we have very clearly learned lessons from 2017, for example, the level of coordination with Valley Water, with PG&E. It was excellent. I appreciate how proactive we were at getting out there and alerting our many unhoused residents living along our waterways who were put in harm's way by this series of storms. I'm confident that your proactive work and organization saved lives. So I just wanted to be sure to note that, and with that, I'll move on to our council members who would like to speak. I believe Councilmember Cohen is up first.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And just want to thank you, Kip, Ray, Rob, Lage, everybody else who's been working, I think, 24/7 for the last couple weeks. We were involved over New Year's weekend and for the past week in a lot of different areas around the city. I can't imagine the scope. The scope just within District 4 has been large enough for me to deal with, so it's impressive that you've been as able to react. When I had an issue in a street, in a neighborhood, on a creek, you were there within minutes or hours at the max, and that coordination with Valley Water really helped in our district. We have a lot of high water and a lot of nervous residents, and so I appreciate all of the things that you've done to stand up quickly in the last couple weeks. So I just want to thank you, and I'll move a ratification of the proclamation.
Second.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Foley?
Great, thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Kip and Ray and the team for all the reports and the information that you have provided the council offices, but also the community, the information that you've been able to give to us, that we've been able to push out through social media has been really invaluable. And to echo Councilmember Cohen's comments, it really is impressive how quickly you responded and kept us notified of what was happening. In my area, I have Ross Creek. I also have Canoas Creek, and Guadalupe is not far from my personal residence. So watching all three of those and sharing the information is really helpful. While we love the rain, we don't love the floods, and we've certainly learned a lot, and our residents are nervous about what's happening, but I really have confidence in our team. Just a quick story, I was out there at Ross Creek on Friday, and who do I see knocking on doors but Mayor Liccardo was out there with his equipment and in his gear, along with all the other volunteers, knocking on doors, speaking to people about the need to get sandbags and be prepared. And this was just shortly after the police had gone by with their loudspeakers telling people to be prepared. So it was kind of fun to run into the retired mayor out there. But a lot of people have been involved, a lot of volunteers. And to your team and your credit, thank you for all that you're doing to keep us safe and informed.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Torres?
Yes, I also would like to thank my former supervisor, Kip, who is running the EOC along with Blage and Ray and Lee Wilcox. But also give a big shout out to our urban rescue team, so our fire department and our SJPD who helped make sure that our unhoused were safe from the creeks. But along with PRNS staff who gave us a great training at Tank Lopez Center, and we went out into the community. I'm going to be a very proactive council member, so my District 3 team has been out there outreaching to our folks. So thank you to our other government partners and nonprofits. A big major thank you to Red Cross for creating 2 amazing shelters, but also to those folks who didn't get paid for being out here, volunteers and other folks who helped our unhoused and other neighbors with sandbagging and getting them out of the creek. So, and it's really good to know and hear that our city is learning our lesson from 2017 and also the 1995 floods. I was one of those kids who was playing in Highway 87 during the flood of 1995. Now I'm working it, but that's the way it is. But we're learning from past disasters to be ready. So thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Doan.
Thank you, Mayor. As a retired fire captain, and I was right in the front line in 2017, we've learned a lot of lesson. And thank you, Kip and Ray. Thank you, all the other departments, including police and fire and the mayor office. We came together as a team. We prepare to respond to this emergency like no others. And I'm extremely proud to say the city of San Jose, we're the best. And I want to make sure the Office of Emergency Management management being recognized of the fact that they work day and night to make sure not only the vulnerable, but all of our citizens are being safe. And I just want to say thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Next, we have Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo some of the comments that my fellow colleagues have mentioned already. Thank you so much to our city staff. Thank you, Kip. You and I have been texting late at night in regards to making sure that our residents throughout the city have the resources and support they need for their families and their homes. I specifically want to thank you for two instances in my district. Myself and my staff were out over the weekend knocking on doors in the Toyon Penitentiary Creek area, alerting families of the potential flood, and we did come across, I think, about 2 trees that had fallen, and you know, we submitted it through email, and at first I'm like, oh, it's through email, are they going to respond? I drove by a couple hours later, and those trees were gone. So I really want to thank you, the amount of seriousness and priority you're putting into this, both staff and our rank and file staff as well. You know what? They're the heart and soul of this city, so I just really want to go on the record and thank them. And in the second instance, Regional Medical Center in my district had a flood that was preventing them to ship in new resources for the patients, and that could have been life-threatening for many of the patients there. And we got a notice of this late in the afternoon yesterday, and our city staff got into motion and made sure to mitigate that. So I want to thank you. You definitely saved some lives. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, Councilmember. I think you're hearing unanimous gratitude. So thank you again for everything you and all the members of the EOC, all of our other partners who were listed, have done to keep us organized and help save lives. We'll let you get back to work. I think we are ready now. We have a motion from Councilmember Cohen, seconded by Councilmember Foley. Let's vote. Great. Okay. That is unanimous. Moving on. Thank you. We are on to the consent calendar. Should stop them.
It's up to you. I mean, it's out of order.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah. Okay, excuse me. Okay, we're going to continue on with the meeting. Thank you for joining us. Okay, we need to continue on with the meeting. I'd ask that you respect the council and process and leave quietly at this point. Thank you. Okay, we're on to the consent calendar. I believe Councilmember Ortiz is pulling item 2.11. Is that correct, Councilmember? Yes, great. Okay. Go ahead.
No, thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick comment. As I come into the District 5 office, I'm keenly aware of the work being done along the Alum Rock corridor to form a CBID. And what we're seeing in this report is the incredible impact that CBIDs hold in their community. Financially, we can see how this CBID specifically has driven economic development. Downtown Willow Glen is known in this city as a prime location for shopping and dining. You know, I personally love to go to downtown Willow Glen for Taiwan. They have a great Taiwan restaurant in that area. But we're moving to do the same thing in the Alum Rock corridor, while ensuring that we're able to leverage cultural assets, as well as to present the historical stretch of San Jose. Coupled with the Mexican Heritage Plaza, Little Portugal, the potential impact of a seabed along Alum Rock is quite incredible. I'm thankful for the leadership of my predecessor, former Councilmember Magdalena Carrasco, and the great work of staff from the Office of Economic Development, the leadership of the Alum Rock Santa Clara Street Business Association. They were here a few minutes ago. Unfortunately, they just left. As well as our consultant, Civitas, for their great work in pushing the seabed. It's my hope that I can count on this council's support to pass the Alum Rock seabed when we cross that bridge. Those are my comments. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council Member. I think I'm going to ask for public comment unless anyone has a motion.
I have no hands up for that item. Did we want to?
I'd like to entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Great. Let's vote on approving 2.11. Great. Okay, I believe we've all voted. Thank you. Now we're on to the rest of the consent calendar. Were there any other items that the council wanted to pull? Okay, see none, I'll entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Great. Let's vote on that as well.
And just to note, I have no hands up for consent either.
Oh, thank you. Yes, appreciate that. Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everybody. I'd like to next move to the land use consent calendar. We have two items, items 10.1A and B.
I'll move approval.
Thank you. Did we have a second?
Second.
Great. Do we have public comment?
There are no hands up.
Okay. Not seeing any hands up, so why don't we go ahead and vote? Great. Okay. Back to 3.1, the report of the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no report today.
Okay, thank you. And we're on to item 3.3, the collection and use of tree-related in lieu fees, enforcement of tree planting conditions on development, and the cost of tree planting audit report. I believe we have a presentation from the city auditor. And I see DOT staff, planning, wonderful. Welcome, everybody, when you're ready.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Joe Roy, City Auditor. I'm here with Allison Pauley from my office, Michael O'Connell, also from my office, who worked on the report, is in the audience. We're also joined by Chris Burton from Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, and John Ristow and Rick Scott from Department of Transportation. Here to present our audit, tree removals and replacements. The city can improve processes to protect and grow the community forest. So the mission of the City Auditor's Office is to independently assess and report on city operations and services. The audit function is an essential element of the San Jose's public accountability, and our audits provide the City Council, city management, and the general public with independent and objective information regarding the economy, efficiency, effectiveness, and equity of city operations services. The office is independent from the City Manager's Office and the audited departments and report directly to you, the City Council. This audit was conducted in response to a request by the former mayor and multiple members of the City Council, as included in the City Auditor's Council-approved fiscal year 2022-2023 work plan. San Jose's community forest is comprised of 1.6 million trees on private and public property. Most trees are located on private property, however, about 300,000 trees are on public property or rights of way, including about 270,000 street trees, the vast majority of which are maintained by private property owners. In February 2022, the city adopted a Community Forest Management Plan, or CFMP, to grow and maintain the community forest. Along with the adoption of that plan was direction to conduct this audit, the purpose of which was to review how and whether the city is collecting tree-related mitigation fees from developers, how and whether the city is enforcing tree planting conditions on development, how the city is spending tree mitigation funds, and how the city can most cost-effectively plant more trees. Multiple city departments play a role with managing or overseeing the removal, replacement, planting, and monitoring of tree-related activities. For purposes of this audit, Departments of Transportation, or DOT, and Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, or PBCE, were the primary departments we worked with to address the audit objectives. DOT houses the city arborist team that oversees tree planting and maintenance for public trees, excluding parks, which are handled by the Department of Parks, Recreation, and Neighborhood Services. The Planning Division of PBCE processes applications for private property tree removals. Also, Public Works plays a role managing landscaping for public projects and reviewing impacts of private development on public infrastructure. Based on direction from Council through the CFMP and budget process, DOT is working to scale up the number of planting projects. In prior years, the department had planted roughly a few hundred trees per year, and going forward, the goal is to plant 2,000 trees per year. To accomplish this increased scope and scale of tree planting, additional funding was allocated for planting and pruning in last year's budget process. In San Jose, property owners need a permit to remove trees over 38 inches in circumference from single-family or duplex lots, or of any size on other property types. The Planning Division of PBCE reviews the permits and determines if the application can be approved. Trees that are removed must be replaced per the city's replacement ratio. The ratio ranges from 1 to 5 trees per tree removed, depending on the property type, the size of the tree, and whether the tree is native. A large native tree will have the highest replacement ratio. If there is space, the city prefers that applicants plant replacement trees on their property. Otherwise, applicants pay a fee, and the Department of Transportation uses that fee to plant new trees. We had 4 findings. The first finding was that private property tree removal permitting requires better resources and improved processes. The city requires applicants plant replacements for trees that they remove per the city's replacement ratios, as I just mentioned. However, planners have not been consistently applying the standard replacement ratios correctly when approving tree removals or development permits. We found in our small sample of 34 permits, we noted errors in nearly 1/3, resulting in 142 fewer trees planted, or roughly $110,000 of in lieu fees. Currently, planners do not receive standard training nor have instruction on how to apply the replacement ratios or make technical decisions around trees. To ensure that tree removal processes are consistently followed and updated, we recommend that PBCE develop procedures on tree removal permit processing and provide planners with technical guidance about trees or provide further access to certified arborists. We also noted that tree removal permit fees do not align with the current review process. For a sample of projects, the average time to review a live tree removal was longer than the permit fee recovers. We should also note that the recommendations from the CFMP may impact the current process, and PBC plans to review the fee and related processes. We have a recommendation in this area as well. The second finding is that the city can better ensure replacement trees are planted and regrowing the canopy. The purpose of the city's replacement ratio is to regrow the canopy after a tree is removed. And as noted earlier, when an applicant removes a tree, the city prefers that the replacement tree or trees be planted on their property. We found the city does not verify that applicants planted required replacement trees on their property, and although the city has 2 methods to verify tree plantings, depending on the type of permit, neither is routinely done. Lastly, the city determines the replacement ratio based on the number of trees removed without accounting for canopy loss and does not provide guidelines for appropriate tree species for planting. To ensure replacement trees are appropriately planted to regrow the canopy, we recommend PBCE develop procedures to enforce tree planting requirements and revise the tree replacement policy to incorporate canopy size and provide guidance for tree selection. The third finding is DOT has not been spending in lieu fees timely. As described earlier, the city collects an in lieu fee when applicants remove a tree and do not have room to plant a new tree on their property. They then use these fee revenues to plant trees on the applicant's behalf. DOT has spent only a small portion of the in lieu fees collected to date. Between fiscal year 2018-19 and 21-22, the city collected over $1.5 million in in lieu fees, but only spent $88,000, or about 6%. I would like to note that the department had intended to spend about $375,000 of in lieu fees to plant 472 trees in the past few years, but had unintentionally used alternate funding sources for those plantings. Though we do note that funds spent were used for planting and watering costs, we found that DOT can improve how they track in lieu fee spending and develop clear guidelines on where or how to spend in lieu fee revenues. To better spend such revenues, we recommend that DOT identify planting locations or uses for accumulated fees, create guidelines for how fees should be spent, and regularly review information on fee collection. Our last finding, or fourth finding, is that DOT should evaluate costs and establish metrics for the community forest program's objectives. The city has identified numerous objectives for the community forest program. These include planting 2,000 trees per year, achieving a 20% canopy cover by 2051, and prioritizing tree planting in designated areas of need. Costs of tree planting can vary, but can include costs for procuring and planting a tree, site preparation, or traffic safety measures. For example, in one project reviewed, planting occurred on a heavily trafficked street and required lane closures. Watering during the first few years after a tree is planted, which is also referred to as the establishment period, and future maintenance costs. DOT has several potential planting approaches, including city-funded and directed plantings, or engaging private property owners in planting efforts. The different strategies may have different costs and vary in how effectively they meet the different goals of the community forest program. However, city data on tree removals, replacements, and tree planting is limited both in terms of costs and effectiveness, such as survival rates for different planting strategies. To measure how well the city is meeting its objectives, the city should track additional data related to tree planting, removals, and outreach, and in addition, metrics would help the city evaluate the cost-effectiveness of planting approaches in meeting objectives. To measure how well the city is meeting community forest objectives, we recommend DOT develop metrics and work with PBC on necessary data collection to measure progress toward the city's tree planting objectives, and work with the Community Forest Advisory Committee to develop an outreach plan, as we recognize private property owners will need to be part of the solution to regrow the canopy. The report has 10 recommendations to improve the city's processes to protect and grow the community forest. We'd like to thank the Departments of Transportation, Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, and Public Works. We also like to thank the City Attorney's Office and the City Manager's Budget Office. Ask that you accept the report, and I'll turn it over to John from the Department of Transportation for the administration's response. We're happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. John Risto, Director of Transportation. Besides Chris and I up here, we have Robert Manford, Deputy Director of Planning, Building, Code Enforcement, and Rick Scott, Deputy Director, Department of Transportation. On behalf of the city administration, I just want to thank Joe and his audit team for a very thorough and productive report. It's very helpful. We concur with all the findings and the recommendations in the report and look forward to implementing those. We also did receive a memorandum from Council members Cohen, Davis, and Jimenez, and we do concur and support those recommendations that are contained in that memo. And we also did just receive memorandum from Councilmember Torres, and we concur and support those recommendations as well. Thank you.
Great, thank you for the presentation. And with that, why don't we go to public comment?
Lillian?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
I am in my 60s and I am a tree hugger from way back. And when I see development happening and very, very old trees being uprooted, it is painful to watch. And no matter what you just stated in all of your reports, if you live in your community and you have specific trees that your kids have grown up around, or you actually love yourself, to see those trees uprooted due to development is kind of the wrong way to go about it. I personally think that when David Cohen stated, and he did state this, that 200 trees are going to be uprooted in his district to make room for a demolition and development, you should see some of those old trees. And personally and morally, I think it's devastating to see those uprooted, even if you state that you can plant other trees there and that it will take the place of those trees. I personally, and I think the community, does not believe that that is the right direction to go. And I hope that you can save more trees than you destroy. Thank you.
Jill Borders?
Hi, thank you so much. I just wanted to comment on the one recommendation that the planning department have more training or have some coordination with the city arborists involved when they're getting feedback on trees. Because this came up last year in a really important permit that the planning department had gone ahead and said that they recommended this removal of a California buckeye tree over 100 inches in circumference in order for this one house to be built on this hill. And the problem with that was that planning had not even contacted one arborist, let alone the city arborist. to make a finding that this California buckeye tree was in poor condition. And upon doing a little research, we found out that not only was it not in poor condition, that was just a statement of visual observation. And doing a little more research, a California buckeye tree has a season in which it goes through something where it doesn't look like it's sort of the most healthy tree, but that doesn't mean it isn't. And so I guess my point is I just want to say thank you for the report in which you're acknowledging the disconnect between the planning department offering up advice about trees when in fact they do not have the expertise needed to make some of these decisions about these enormously important trees, these huge, huge trees that they're talking about just taking down. So number one, thank you for that acknowledgement. And two, we really should have some sort of policy connection where if a planning department is going to say, yeah, let's take down this tree, it shouldn't just be because they had some visual on it. A city arborist should be cited in the report in which they want that permit to go forward. That's just my 2 cents. And just let you know that tree is now still standing because thank goodness it was purchased as open space. Hooray! Thank you.
Sangeetha?
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to give comment today. My name is Sangeetha Sarkar, and I'm an organizer at Save the Bay. And I'm speaking today in support of the recommendations outlined in the audit report to improve processes and ensure a robust urban canopy. These recommendations present an opportunity for green stormwater infrastructure and other climate adaptation strategies to be incorporated into San Jose's urban forest management. Save the Bay's policy work is focused on building resilience to flooding across our region. Just this month, Bay Area residents experienced unusually strong storms, which caused floods, property damage, and loss of life. These storms will only get worse with sea level rise. Incorporating green infrastructure into the urban forest can help protect San Jose residents from future floods. One way to do this is by planting replacement trees in stormwater tree wells whenever possible, especially in areas prone to flooding. This will allow trees to absorb excess stormwater and filter pollutants out of it before it drains into our waterways. Save the Bay is supportive of using some of the in lieu fee surplus to fund tree wells and other green stormwater infrastructure in San Jose's urban forest. By incorporating green infrastructure into the follow-up actions from the audit report, San Jose has an opportunity to not just maintain its tree canopy, but also to build resilience against future floods. Thank you.
Juan Estrada? Okay, we're having a little issue with Juan Estrada. So I'm going to move on to Alex Shore.
Hey, good afternoon, council members. Welcome, Mayor Mahan and the new council to your new roles. I'm speaking to you today personally, and I just wanted to say I'm really appreciative of the work of the auditor's office on this audit. The tree canopy seems to be an issue that all of you have expressed interest in at different times from the council, past and present, and it just seems like such an issue where we can do so much good with what seems like such a tangible way of planting one tree at a time. So I know Councilmember Cohen, Councilmember Foley, Mayor Mahan have all worked on this issue, and I think it's great. And I hope we continue to find ways to, and if there's anything more that can be done in the development process, feel free to let me know and Catalyze SV know on the tree canopy issue in our conversations with developers. We'd love to have more of those conversations to make sure those trees get replaced, because it does seem really important. So just very supportive of the recommendations coming from the auditor and the the council's increased focus on this issue. Thank you.
Juan Estrada?
Dear City Council, my name is Juan Estrada and I'm on staff with Green Foothills. Thank you to the city and staff for prioritizing this. I'm speaking in support of the recommendations outlined in the tree removals and replacements audit report. along with recommendations number 1 through 4 and 5 through 7 in the memo by council members Cohen, Davis, and Jimenez. I'm sorry, I misspoke. 1 through 4 and 6 and 7 in that memo to improve and enhance processes and ensure a robust and more equitable urban canopy. I agree with the speaker from Save the Bay that these recommendations also present an opportunity for green stormwater infrastructure and other climate adaptation strategies to be incorporated into San Jose's urban forest management. May as well tackle more than one issue at a time with the same solution. Thank you.
Okay, back to council.
Great. Thank you, Tony. Thank you to the members of the public who spoke on the item. Thank you. I want to thank the city auditor. I thought this was an excellent audit report, very informative, clear, actionable, and I think the basis for a great discussion and some excellent recommendations from my colleagues. I'm going to turn it over to them, and we will start with Councilmember Cohen.
Yeah, thank you. And first, I want to thank the Joe and the auditor's office. As you know, this is something that I've been asking about for a long time. We have, throughout the city over the years, seen developments that end up removing trees as part of their development. And we always, I know you know me as a broken record, always asking how many trees are going to be replaced, how are we going to make sure they're going to be replaced? And the part I think that's missing is that second part. How do we make sure they're going to be replaced? We have a procedure for developers to replace the trees with a certain ratio and for them to pay a fee if they can't do it on site. But it wasn't clear to me that we were ever enforcing that policy. And so it's great to see the audit, although the audit confirms what I had feared. So, I'm glad that we're now addressing that. The audit, while we are collecting fees, we're not collecting them every time. We don't necessarily know that I think we saw from the audit that there's clearly, I think, millions of dollars left on the table because we're not going back and making sure fees are collected. And in addition to that, the fees that are collected, we're not utilizing. I forget the number, it's like $13 million or something like that, still in the fund that hasn't been spent. So I look forward to us figuring out how we're going to start to spend that money and come up with a plan for how we can incorporate in our development process, holding the developers accountable. So that's a portion of it. Obviously, there's other parts of this audit as well, but to me, that was one of the biggest parts. And one of the callers mentioned tree removal in projects in District 4. In particular, there was one currently happening that I think is coming to director's hearing at the end of January, where they're removing nearly 600 trees as part of the development. At least that was the proposal. And so that certainly raised a red flag in my mind that the mitigation requirement is for 1,400 trees to be replaced. We know that the developer can't do 1,400 trees on site. We know they'll pay a large amount of fees, but it's not clear that we will ever, as a city, replace those trees because we don't have a procedure in place to follow up and make that happen. So that was the spirit of our memo and of the audit itself. I'm glad that we're going to be addressing that. First, I just want to also comment back to that caller about that. I think it's important for us to work on these projects with the developers, with the proposals, to minimize the removal when possible as our first line of action, as opposed to just accepting the number of tree removals. And I'm appreciative of the planning department in the case that I just mentioned, that we've worked together to try to find ways to reroute sidewalk and frontage requirements and make some allowances so that some of the large trees along the street will be preserved and there will be fewer trees removed than the original proposal had brought forward. And so I think that that's what we should be working for first and foremost. So having said all that as an introduction, just want to briefly mention my memo along with Councilmember Jimenez and Davis. I want to thank them for working on this with me for the last month. Want to make sure that we get a report back to the Transportation and Environment Committee this June about the progress made towards meeting these audit recommendations, and a second update at the end of the year. It's a little frustrating to me that one item is timelined for June of 2024 instead of 2023, and that to me is an important one, which is the one about studying and better understanding the size requirements, the canopy requirements, the kinds of trees. I know that's a much more extensive study and requires some expertise we don't have. So I appreciate that takes more time. While we would like to accelerate it, we didn't put that in the memo because we know we can't make work happen faster than possible, but I would like to at least encourage us to try to get that done as quickly as possible, because as we move forward with some of these other items, having a robust policy in place that where we know it's the right kinds of trees and the right replacement ratios is important. And then we're going to get annual reports back. Item number 2 on the memo, bringing annual reports back on how we're doing going forward in the collection and utilization of in-lieu fees. I think that's going to be part of the annual report to T&E, and so we'll appreciate that. It occurred to us that we had put in place a policy for billboards and removal of trees and replacement of trees if, in fact, that happens. And I know at the airport there was tree removal included in that project. So I want to make sure that that's also adopted as part of the tree policy. And then I think we were concerned as well about making sure that when we remove trees in public parks, city parks, that we're also following some of our same rules, so that if we remove tree, just because we always hold developers to account, but we should hold ourselves to the same account. And that's what item number 4 is about. Back to the concern about the removal of trees and payment of fees, number 5 is really important, I think, because we want to try to replace trees near where they were removed in parts of the city. And so while it's really important to have the citywide fund that is allocated through the procedures that we've talked about in the past, having the fees, for example, for those 1,400 replacement trees in District 4 for that project on Cume Drive, having resources to replace those trees in the same geography of where they were removed is important. So we're asking for half the money to be earmarked for the district where the trees were removed. And then another big concern has been how residents are incentivized to follow the official procedure. And I know the audit report says we're not collecting enough money to pay the cost, which would actually imply that we would want to increase the cost to a resident to over $3,000 to get a permit to remove a tree. In my opinion, and I think those of us who wrote the memo, we agree that this will incentivize people just to remove the tree without following the procedure and won't necessarily do what we want it to do. So we're asking for sort of a study to come back to T&E at some point with a recommendation about what is the sweet spot, how much should we charge, and how do we find ways to subsidize the cost to residents so that we're going to follow the procedure appropriately, or are we going to change our ordinances in a way that allows us to make it easier for our residents? And just for example, in my mind, I'm thinking about that $13 million. As a portion of that money could be used to help subsidize the program to allow people to get the permits more easily. And then finally, making sure people understand that when they remove a tree, that there are programs out there to get free trees and to replace them. I don't think many people know about that, and we just need to improve the communication with the residents. So I'm going to start by making a motion to approve the memo from myself and Councilmember Davis and Councilmember Jimenez.
Second.
Just going to add one thing. I know Councilmember Torres also had a memo. I appreciate the recommendations in there. They're things that we've talked about over the years when it comes to our urban forestry management plan. And I think some of them are probably already in the urban forestry management plan. I'm not sure exactly how we left it when we talked about removing pavement. I know we talked very extensively last year about taking out, as we're repaving streets, actually putting in green strips between bike lanes and the road and putting in more trees and doing things like that. So some of these things are already in the plan, so I think it's important for us to continue to focus on some of these items. What I would recommend is that I would move this memo with just an adjustment which says to come back when we get a report at T&E on the urban forestry management plan later this year to get an update on how these items are being incorporated into that plan. So that, I guess that's my amendment to my own motion. So just for the seconder.
And thank you, Councilmember. Just to clarify, you were also moving Councilmember Torres's memo with that modification?
With the
or-
modification, just to say that when we come back and reevaluate the urban forestry management plan at T&E, that we will see how these are being incorporated into that plan.
Great. I fully support the motion. Just before moving on, can I just ask for clarity, any of the authors of the memo, on item 6, I think we've been aware of this issue of the permit fee being higher than the penalty for not getting a permit. Evaluate is a little bit of a weak verb there. Is our intention that we want a proposal to come back for actually adjusting those fees? And do you have a time frame for that? Or did you
We
intend
didn't
to leave that open?
Yeah.
So I can speak to that item. We had extensive discussion about that. What we really want to do is minimize the fee as much as possible. So hopefully that would come back in the budget when we do fees and charges. And we did take care of the fee or the penalty being, it is larger than the tree removal permit. We took care of that a couple of years ago, but the idea is really to make sure that we're minimizing that so that even if residents are in an area where it's unlikely to be reported if they remove a tree without a permit, that they still go and get the permit so that we can put it on our list as a tree that needs to be replaced somewhere.
That makes sense. Excellent. Okay. And so the intention is to see that fee potentially reduced as part of fees and charges this
Yes.
year, as part of the budget cycle. Great.
Yes.
Just wanted that to be on the record. Excellent. Okay. Thank you, Councilmember. We are on to Councilmember Doan.
Well, thank you, Mayor. I, like many of our colleagues, are concerned about the impact of the climate change. And I would like to see the increased number of trees in District 7 and in San Jose as a whole. But a lot of these trees are causing a lot of damage to residents and businesses, and some of these residents are low income and unable to repair the sidewalk that causes by these trees. And I appreciate that Councilmember Cohen did mention that. So I asked that Davis, Cohen, and Jimenez and Torres a memorandum allows the provision for the city to pay for damages to the sidewalk caused by the tree that are required by the city, or at least some type of stipend, if you will. And I also asked that the memo will ensure outreach to all major languages, obviously English, Hispanic, and Vietnamese. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. And I believe in Councilmember Torres's memo, there's an item, a recommendation to explore defraying costs. My understanding is that to do that citywide is quite expensive, on the order of $20 to $30 million, but maybe I can refer that to staff.
John Risto, Director of Transportation. Thank you for the question. So I don't have a specific number, but it is a high number. We do over 5,000 repairs that we work with the actual property owners every year just to repair those sidewalks. Currently, the city ordinance and code actually requires the adjoining or abutting property owner to be responsible for those repairs. So if city attorney wants to clarify or add to that, but that's the current way that it is set up. It is the property owner's responsibility, and if to change that would require us to change the city charter for that.
I would like to weigh in. Jennifer McGuire, City Manager. We have done in the past, many, many years ago, there was sidewalk grant programs. It was very, very costly to the general fund because it is, as Director Risto has commented, it is the property owners. So, certainly if that was something the council was interested in, we would really need to be weighed in the budget against all the other budget priorities, because it's just not a low-cost item. So certainly, as part of Councilmember Omar Torres's memo, we could certainly look at these other things, and as was amended with a motion, and bring back information on that during the T&E report next June.
Great. Anything else, Councilmember? Okay. Great. Thank you. We are on to Councilmember Torres.
Thank you, Mayor. So I would like to definitely thank the Office of our City Auditor. This is my first audit as a council member, but I'm familiar with the great work that Joe and his team have done and been doing. I'm very appreciative of the gaps and recommendations identified by this audit. As many of you know, I've worked in District 5 and obviously grew up in the district that I'm now representing. And so I'm familiar professionally and through lived experiences as to the issues involved with the lack of canopy and the result of heat islands, especially in our underserved communities. I have some concerns. I understand that only 6% of the in lieu fees were spent with other funds for a total of $375,000. Given the graph on page 36, it indicates fees collected per district. I'm interested in understanding where the 472 trees were planted, and given the disparity shown on the map on B1 of the presentation, it clearly illustrates where canopy is lacking. So I want to make sure that whatever number of trees and whatever funds we're using are being used in a equity screen.
Councilmember, thank you, John Risto again. For probably that's an offline meeting that we could provide you with where trees were actually planted in the district. I don't have that map up here available today, but certainly can provide that.
Okay, that would definitely be helpful. Thank you. All right, so I have a couple more questions. As we plant more trees, I want to make sure we are definitely tracking those trees. And what is the plan for that?
Is the question where are we tracking where the trees are to be planted or are planted?
So moving forward, do we have a plan of, I know you can give me the answer now, but moving forward, do we have a plan to track where these trees are being planted throughout our city or our council districts or our parks or neighborhood strips?
Yes, and the new trees that the council has directed staff to, the 2,000 that was mentioned in Joe's report that we're going to be doing over the next couple of years, we're going to be locating those in conjunction with each one of the council districts. So we're selecting new tree locations with each one of the districts, and then we do track those. We map them out, and so we know where those trees are going to be planted.
Great. And so what's the criteria currently for the in lieu distribution when planting these trees? Or is it for a meeting for later?
Is the question how we determine where how much is to be spent, or the in lieu fees that were collected?
Yes.
So the in lieu fees are collected based on the development that would be paying for those fees in that particular district.
Okay. So
new developments that come in, they pay the fees, right?
And how we decide to use these funds, is it policy or is it practice, John?
The in lieu fees, I think it's in ordinance now, I believe, isn't? If I'm not.
John, would you like me to step in quickly?
Yep.
Thank you for the question, Councilmember Torres. Rick Scott, Deputy Director, DOT. There is no set policy as far as how fees are currently spent. It has been a practice to try to be, within the realm of where the trees were removed. And I think that's what, looking at the memo, that's what's being addressed in that memo. But it's been a practice. It's, I think we know there needs to be more trees planted generally. And so that's where we are right now.
Great. No, thank you, everybody, for your answers so far. It's my first day, so definitely getting used to this. Are the funds are they strictly used for planting, or can they be part of some type of hardship fund?
I don't think I know the answer to that. I'm not sure if maybe the auditor knows that
So
one.
that's a really good question.
Yeah.
So the way we phrased the recommendation was locations or uses. We did note in other jurisdictions that, for example, I can't remember who it was, it might have been Fremont, was using some of the funds as a matching funds for grant purposes. And we left it open because I think it's a question that the department will have to work with the city attorney's office to find out what is allowable use, because there is potentially it may be for a broader set of purposes. But again, I think it's a discussion between the city attorney's office and DOT as they develop that policy that Rick was talking about.
Great, thank you. And the reason why I asked that question is that we definitely want to incentivize that our residents, through a hardship grant, have assistance in repairing pavement damage by tree planting, as we saw on page 42, which clearly lists it's listed as a major concern. And we all know that this huge burden is especially is huge for our low-income communities, where we have not invested enough to grow our canopy. And we all know that this is a barrier to them and a barrier in growing our canopy. So can we expand the hardship program?
Again, I think it comes down to, as the city develops their policy about how they use the in lieu fees, or if there's another source of funding. It's a matter of funding. If it's not the in lieu fees, and if it is the in lieu fees, then it's a matter of discussion between DOT and the attorney's office to determine whether it's an appropriate use.
You know, and I can add a little bit of context to that as well. The purpose of the hardship or the in lieu fees is to replace trees that are removed. There is a current hardship program to replace and work with trees that are damaging sidewalk right now. So if you need more information on that, our office, we're happy to reach out and discuss that with you. But it is based on the area median income, so many of our residents will qualify if they apply. So really expanding the outreach there is something we want to work on as a department, and are happy to work with the council offices on. As far as how to direct in lieu fees, I know that's a policy decision, but again, I think the intention of that policy is to replace the trees that are removed specifically. So I think there is some flexibility, some things that can be explored, but that's kind of the overall strategic goal of having those in lieu fees.
Right, and thank you again for your answers. I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but the reason why I asked is because I would like some type of program to be very targeted in our most vulnerable neighborhoods and communities that are lacking canopy. So if we remove financial burden and the future costs, right, we will incentivize more private planting, right? And I know that we are being aggressive on public lands, public medians, public parks, etc. But for me, representing District 3, and we all know how beautiful our city is, but I represent neighborhoods like Washington, Spartan Keys, Japantown, and Luna Parks, where there's huge differences of canopies. When I lived in the Tamia neighborhood, I could not run in my own neighborhood because of the lack of canopies. Thank goodness I lived next door to Councilmember Davis's district, because as soon as I hit Willow Street all the way up to Los Gatos Creek Trail, all this shade was just overlapping me. And so, forgive me to my colleagues, but I do have a short presentation on the disparities of tree canopy in the city of San Jose. So, just bear with me. It's not a long one. I'm not filibustering here.
Glad to hear it.
Okay. But I am going to show you sharp differences in canopy coverage in districts that have lush canopy. So, cute little tree there, logo. Uh-oh, I guess there's our. All right, come on, right slide. Oh, there you go. Okay, so here in this one, we have a park in District 10, which looks beautiful, right? And a park in District 3, Tamian Park, which, by the way, took over 30 years to build in our neighborhood. And you can see the notable difference for both parks, right? One has large trees with shade around the playground, and obviously you see Tamian Park, that basketball court is technically speaking not shaded, but this is what you see in most of in some of our District 3 and District 10 compared to District 10 parks. So, and then the next slide. I grew up, I'm sorry, so this is also Willow Street, where I used to jog, right? And now, where on the right is Japantown, where I now live, and now I jog around. And again, I see the difference, right? We have lush greens in one neighborhood, in one district, and trees that are fighting for survival on the right. And that's our Japantown on the right side. That's where, now technically speaking, I live, and many of our beautiful residents in Japantown live, right? And this is the real stark difference, where on the left, you have Calle Willow Business District, a mostly immigrant business district, and Lincoln Avenue, where I myself, Councilmember Ortiz, loves to go to Taiwan with my lovely sister, because she loves that restaurant. That's her favorite restaurant. You know, this is what we see in our business districts, right? One is lush with canopy, the other is struggling to have canopy, and us, in good conscience, how can we encourage our residents to get out of their cars and enjoy a beautiful neighborhood business district when we're exposing them to dangerous sun exposure to the left, right? And then the next one, last one, I swear, is what Portland, Oregon is doing, right? Cut the pavement by cutting concrete in urban areas to make for more trees and allow thousands of more trees to be planted, and investing in planting more trees in our mostly underserved neighborhoods. So that is definitely my presentation there. And thank you for my colleagues for allowing me to do that presentation. but as you could see, we know that growing an urban canopy, this doesn't happen overnight. This was history of underinvestment in our neighborhoods, where we don't prioritize vulnerable communities of having better trees. And I want to let folks know that in communities like Washington and Spartan Keys and Luna Park, the open spaces are our sidewalks. There are linear parks. Some of us don't have the amenities that others have in other districts, like District 10 and District 6 and District 9. So we really have to think about that the sidewalks are the parks to our most vulnerable communities. And so I'm very interested in hearing from what my colleagues have to say about our lush canopies in our beautiful areas of the city of San Jose, and those struggling to build shade for our residents in our most vulnerable communities. So with that, I have no more comments or questions.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate you sharing those photos and highlighting the disparities we know exist in the community. I know Councilmember Carrasco would be very proud, and it's certainly something that I know our whole council cares about. I appreciate in the memo from council members Cohen, Jimenez, and Davis the real meaningful step forward they're proposing in recommendation 5 to begin to address those significant disparities. We have a few more council members who would like to speak before we consider voting here. I'm going to go on to Councilmember Ortiz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do my best to speed up my comments. I want to start out by thanking the City Auditor's Office for putting together this report for us today. And I'd also like to thank the folks from PBCE and DOT for assisting in this really important effort. The east side of San Jose, just as my colleague, Councilmember Torres, was showcasing disparities, but East San Jose is also woefully lacking in urban canopy. From 2012 to 2018, the east side has lost 3.17% of canopy cover, going from close to 16% of canopy cover in 2012 to 12%, according to the Community Forest Management Plan. Our district suffered the largest tree canopy loss alongside District 1 and District 10. My predecessor, Councilmember Carrasco, saw how big the challenge was and really made it a priority to push to bring trees to East San Jose. However, we need to continue this fight through any means possible, as San Jose desperately needs environmental justice that brings equity into the conversation here at City Hall. All residents deserve to live in a clean and healthy environment, especially those disproportionately affected by environmental injustice. To achieve tree equity through an equity-based budgeting approach, we must focus on prioritizing resources and opportunities for historically and underserved communities. If canopy cover and green acreage were similar across zip codes in a city, all residents would have complete protection against heat waves. But canopy cover varies based on zip code. The U.S. Forest Service and the University of California, UC Davis, found that for every dollar spent on tree planting and maintenance, urban trees deliver $5.82 in benefits. If we are to reach our CFMP goals to achieve 20% canopy by 2051, we need to be aggressive in our tree planting efforts. I do have a few questions to staff. For recommendation 6, which says to sufficiently recuperate lost canopy due to tree removals, PBCE, in coordination with the DOT, should revise the tree replacement policy to include consideration for canopy size and optimal species of replacement trees. So in a memo, in a previous memo from the mayor, Councilmember Carrasco, Davis, Esparza, and Councilmember Cohen, they submitted for the CMP. They asked staff to return to TND and CED with a zero net canopy loss policy that explicitly states we will not allow for any loss of tree canopy in our city. Is there any way we can have the Community Forest Advisory Committee create a roadmap towards this policy of zero net canopy loss, or, which would be a lot better, a positive canopy addition, where we would obviously add more canopy than we're losing as our end goal?
Thank you, Councilmember John Risto, Director of Transportation. And I think the quick answer is yes to that. That is exactly what the idea behind the Community Forest Advisory Committee is intended to do, one of many things that are going to guide us through some of that. So I think the quick answer is yes. We would definitely want to have them weigh in and help us through that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you for your quick answer. Also for second question, also for recommendation 6, which says, provide permit applicants with guidance for appropriate tree selection to meet the replacement policy requirements and to best ensure tree survival. While it has been mentioned before that staff could develop a list of well-adapted species that could go in tandem with further guidance about species canopy size, would it be more beneficial or feasible to have an arborist oversee approval of the replacement of trees that developers or residents want to plant?
Let me start that one, John Risto again. Yes, I think, and again, the answer is we want to have an arborist, and we do have an arborist. We've got a city arborist that actually oversees those replantings of the private property owners, as well as our own publicly managed trees. Anything you want to add to that, Rick, or have Russ weigh in on some of the species issues?
I mean, I think, with every tree, there's a caveat, that we have a species list. Trees may survive, but it's a living thing. There may be issues. But yes, I think that is exactly where we want to go. We want to have more arborist guidance in these decisions, and I think we'd be happy to help facilitate that, whether it be with, we would need additional, I think, between the two departments, resources to do that, or whether the arborist team kind of works on some general guidelines that could assist in those decisions.
Thank you. I know, some of these questions may have been asked in previous city council meetings, but I appreciate you repeating for me as a new council member. Thank you for that.
If I could add really quick, I want to, further on that point about the use of the arborist, I want to point to the recommendation number 2, which talks about supporting planners' decisions regarding technical issues. We recommend providing planners with further access to certified arborists as needed, either through contractors or through the city arborist. So we do try to address that as well by giving additional expertise to the decisions for the planners.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And finally, with that being said, I would like to just introduce into the conversation a very friendly amendment, just to hopefully have a conversation around it, to the memo from Councilmember Cohen, Davis, and Jimenez around bullet point 5. Now, as it stands, it says, place 50% of tree in lieu fees collected to return to the district from which it was collected, and the remaining 50% in the citywide tree mitigation fund. I would like to hopefully add an amendment that places an exception to this, and this exception would be set to a threshold, right, for at least districts that have in lieu fees of $150,000. Should a district make less than this amount of in lieu fees, then they would have all of those fees returned to the district in which it was collected. And then additionally, a second point would be the 50% that does go to the citywide tree mitigation fund. If that could be prioritized to areas that have been identified having the least amount of canopy, and areas like District 5 or 1 and 10, who have the most canopy loss over the years. And I have had conversations. Some of this may be expletive or assumed, but really when it comes to city policy, it's important for districts, especially districts like mine, that it's in writing. So hopefully I'd like to hear everyone's thoughts.
I'm going to actually ask the maker of the motion if that's a friendly amendment.
Well, let me just ask some questions of staff before I make that decision. I had understood, and maybe it's just based on conversations and not something explicit, that our policy in the city for using mitigation fees, we collect them citywide rather than geographically, with the idea that we then have an equity lens-based approach for how we allocate those funds for planting. At least that's the intent. Now, we're not spending any of the money really practically based on the audit anyway, so we don't have any evidence that we're doing that, because I think that we just we haven't put the staff effort into doing the plantings that we're supposed to do. Is it not true, though, that our policy right now for allocating the citywide fund is that we would allocate that based on areas of highest need, both on tree cover and on equity issues? Or is that not an explicit policy?
Councilmember Cohen, it's not explicit policy in any direction, but there has been a practice to use those fees in the district or close to the district where the trees were removed. So the memo is a departure from that, but the equity screen is kind of how we do new plantings, but for the mitigation fees in particular, that has to do with where the trees were removed and replacing what was lost.
Okay, and of course, as I pointed out, we haven't really been doing the replacements, so we have the opportunity now to sort of say, we have this big reserve of fees that have been collected that we should allocate from a citywide priority perspective, and not necessarily based on where maybe 5 or 10 years ago some money had been collected for a project. And of course, I'm particularly interested in our district, District 4, which has the lowest tree canopy in the city, and we do need to fix that. But also the districts that have traditionally not gotten the same attention from tree plantings, or that are just based on history don't have the same kind of canopy as other districts. So I'm all for some statement of in this motion to bring back a policy that would determine how we will use these considerations in allocating the outstanding funds that we currently have and future funds that go into the citywide fund. As far as starting to tinker around with a threshold, I'm not sure we need to do that yet, only because we have $13 million sitting in the fund right now that if we started spending it using this kind of lens, we would clearly be, I don't think we'd plant fast enough to use that money in the next 10 years. So we would have time to figure out, once that money's spent down, what the right way to collect fees is. So that's kind of, is that acceptable? So adding to that, bringing back a recommendation to T&E for discussion on how we allocate citywide funds. And that was kind of the intent of our memo, was that 50% stay in the district. The rest is going into a citywide fund that should be allocated based on what we see as the greatest need. And that was kind of the goal here, which I had thought was similar to what we were already doing, but maybe isn't explicitly what we're planning to do. Does that seem like a reasonable?
Do it.
Could I jump in really quick? You mentioned $13 million. It's actually about 1.4
I was off by
million.
an order of magnitude.
Yeah,
You're
so
right.
I just wanted to clarify
But still,
that.
you're right.
It's-
1.4 million. Even
it's-
if we spent 1.4 on planting
Yeah,
trees, we'd be planting a lot of trees.
I just
And
wanted to clarify.
I was going to say, as you know, in District 4, I've created an initiative to plant 1,000 trees in 1,000 days. We're doing that because we have the lowest tree cover, but we're also trying to raise private money to do that and not necessarily tap into this fund, because we want to save that fund for other areas of need. But we would like to be able to say that when we have a project like the one on Cume and other places that are going to happen in North San Jose right now, Bay Point, other places, when trees are taken out, that we can also tap into the funds from those in lieu fees to plant more trees in that district. And we know certain parts of the city have more development than others. And I think what Councilmember Ortiz is alluding to is there might be less of that in D5 than there are in other districts, and they shouldn't be shortchanged in tree plantings because of that, and I fully agree. I would certainly be fully supportive of allocating the 1.4 million in a way that preferentially goes into areas of high need. And so if we have to come back with a policy to do that, I'm happy to include that in the recommendation.
Yeah, I was, for a second there, thought we were a lot richer than I thought, but that's okay. And just from a staff perspective, yeah, I was trying to remember when we brought the Community Forest Management Plan through council, whether or not we had that discussion about a policy like that, and I do not recall that. So I think, and this is probably a policy issue for the council, and we certainly could, as staff, bring something back for consideration as a policy for what you are referring to.
Great, thank you, Councilmember Cohen, for your willingness to have a conversation about this. And I think we're all essentially aligned. For me, and I think for District 4 and other areas that are lacking in canopy, I think it's really intentional to have that language called out. I think for us, of course, we know like it's the staff's intention. There's nothing secretly going on where all the trees are going to be planted in one district or anything like that. But I think outlining the intention of that strategy, which I think we will do, which you agreed to come back with a policy in regards to how that's dispersed, will be really important. And the reason why I mentioned, or I'm advocating in regards to this is because if you look at how District 5, we made $775, right, in regards to in lieu fees in Christ, like District 7 made $0. So, this would help districts who make no in lieu fees or who are limited in regards to their in lieu fees. It puts, some areas at more advantage than others, the way the current system is. I wanted to see if we could look at page 36 of the auditor's report. Just a I just wanted to point out, how much a district would make compared to their canopy percentage. I appreciate staff's flexibility.
Councilmember, while they're pulling that up, do you have any other questions for staff that we might knock out, or is that your final? Okay.
That was my final question, but I just want to mention, I want to thank you, Councilmember Cohen, and for the leaders on the memo. I definitely accept returning to this conversation with a policy specifically on how that's allocated. And I also support Councilmember Torres' memo.
Great, there it is.
Just to be clear, the amendment's okay with me as the seconder.
Thank you, Councilmember.
And as mentioned, I just wanted to, for the record, just showcase, how much each district made compared to their canopy percentage, and just how 1, 5, and 10 make less than $10,000. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate you pointing that out. We are on to Councilmember Kamei.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief because I agree with my colleagues, and a lot has already been covered. But I do want to say that we really have to pay attention to over the years of drought and stress on the trees. We're seeing even very healthy-looking trees are toppling over because of the inundations that we've had. So the health of trees are going to be critical. I also want to emphasize the important use of an arborist. And I know we do have a city arborist. I also want to emphasize the prioritization of California native trees because I think that sometimes we think, oh yes, we like those eucalyptus, but we don't really want them in close to our residences. So I think that if you're able to do that, I also want to point out that it's not just the removal, the planting, the replanting, whatever you have. Maintenance is also an issue. I know in my District 1, many of my residents have expressed a lot of disappointment on, having to, do whatever they need to do to maintain, and some do it better than others. Even having workshops, I've been thinking about having workshops on tree prunings, and there are partners in our nonprofit community that can help us with this. So as you're looking at all the work that needs to be done on trees or planting trees or what have you, I think that, using some of our nonprofit partners would be ideal to also establish trees in the community. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilmember. Completely agree. We should be done with eucalyptus. Okay, we're on to Councilmember Davis.
Thank you. Yes, as good as they smell, they're a bit of a problem, those eucalyptus trees. I want to thank the city auditor and your team for this report, and I want to thank you, John and Chris, and your teams for your work to better coordinate the fee collection and the tree plantings to grow our canopy. This is really the nitty-gritty work, and really the intent of our memo is to help with the implementation that will get us to meeting our goals of the community forestry management plan. Especially growing the urban canopy and reducing our heat island impacts. And just to be clear, I know that Councilmember Cohen mentioned this already, but item 5 in our memo, the intent was that the citywide portion would be used in areas of high need with the smaller canopy. So just to make that clear, that was our intent. And so I'm glad that we're going to be able to come back to T&E and really make that explicit as a policy for that fund, which I think is probably going to be a new fund in the budget, since we'll be tracking it better. I also wanted to point out that our memo was really wanting to take a holistic view of the tree replacement policy. As Councilmember Cohen mentioned, our policy needs to be explicit about billboards going forward. We need to incorporate that into the policy, and we need to incorporate into our city parks and other public spaces that when we take out trees, we have to replace them as well, and that that policy work needs to be clear about what the replacement ratio needs to be for those areas. And just finally, I don't know if I'm the last speaker, but just to wrap up, that the environmental benefits of a large tree canopy are obviously are obvious, and we talked about those a little bit in our memo as well, but no less important is the benefit to residents' quality of life in areas with a large canopy, which is why we want to grow the canopy in places without one now. It's not just better air quality and having a more comfortable place to run in those hot summer months. It's about getting more people outside walking, and they can have just a nicer place to live and a place that will help them improve their health just right outside their door, instead of having to go to another neighborhood where they don't live, and that's out of their way and have to actually drive there, which is another environmental detriment. So that was the point of our memo, is really to bring all these things together with the audit and the recommendations into the community forestry management plan, and to figure out a way to implement the fee collection with the tree planting and bring those things together. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Davis. Appreciate those great comments and the very thoughtful memo. As we head into a second round of comments, this appears to be a very popular topic. Of course, who doesn't love trees? I just want to encourage my colleagues to be as concise as possible so we can move along. Councilmember Cohen.
Taking advantage of the short agenda today.
And actually, I'm sorry, you haven't spoken yet, have you,
Oh,
Councilmember? I don't know, I'm going to blame the technology, but Councilmember Jimenez has not spoken yet, so Councilmember Cohen, I apologize.
I've been waiting patiently.
There you go, thank you. You have all the time you would
As
like.
the dude that has the most money in lieu fees, I just wanted to say that Council District 2 would surely support a scenario in which that was shared across different districts that need some of that money. And so I just wanted to express that. I also had a question for anyone that can answer it. Is obviously we've had a lot of floods and things going on years, but is there any, do we have any numbers as it relates to how many trees we've lost that have fallen over due to some of that, and the process for replacing those? Do we know?
This is John Risto again. Do you mean during one of these storm events?
Correct. So for example, over the last month or so, do we have a sense as to how many trees?
We can get that. I know today we had 215 tree calls just in this one day.
That doesn't mean they're all knocked down,
Yeah,
though. But
correct. But, and so in
we
a
have a lot.
situation where during a storm event a tree is knocked over, right? Obviously, we're not replanting that tree. What happens in that case, for example? Is that tree, does the money come from DOT, Public Works, or the Parks Department, I guess, depending on where that happens? But does a similar tree get replanted there, or similar?
Your Councilmember Jimenez, it does, you're right, depend on where the tree falls. If it's a street tree, that the property owner is responsible for, we interact with those residents and work with them to facilitate the planting of a new tree in front of their properties. The DOT attempts to replace the trees that we lose in our medians and things like that, and I'm sure PRNS has a similar policy. I can't speak for them right now, so we can get back to you with a more comprehensive response.
Okay, all right, thank you. The other question I had, Joe, looking through the report, I'm not sure if you touched on this, but it seems like there's various departments that touch this work, obviously DOT, Public Works to a certain extent, and then the Parks Department. Is there, remind me, maybe I missed it, but has any analysis been done as it relates to making sure that these efforts sort of reside under one department as opposed to several departments? It seemed to me that, I wonder if that's a challenge, and John, if you have any thoughts on that. But
I'll try that one, Joe. So that's actually one of the items that we identified in the community forestry management plan, that we need to get a better organization of all trees within all city departments, et cetera. So that is something that we're working on, and we are going to we're going to be doing that sort of work through using the Community Forestry Advisory Council as well as the city committees and such. So it is one of the things that was on our work program.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's been a while since we've touched that plan, but that's why I didn't remember. Joe?
If I could just add as well. So we, Allie and the team, they did talk with other jurisdictions, trying to get an understanding of how it's kind of set up elsewhere. And it's pretty common to have the kind of it's split between, the or when we're talking about the in lieu fees and better coordination and communication between the departments and managing those fees. So our focus was really on how do we kind of make the process a little leaner and smoother We weren't really seeing well, I wouldn't say whether it's, the costs of reorganization, would that be, what would those costs relative be against trying to, again, just improve the current process? So we were looking at that, but we didn't really see any good models in other jurisdictions and, having it like under one umbrella. But as John said, they're looking at that as well.
Okay, and then the other thing that I've always wondered, and I'm not sure if there's any of you can answer this or if there's someone in the audience that can answer this, but obviously, say for example, there's a tree that's been there for a while. It's a large tree. It's removed for whatever reason. That doesn't matter in this example. Oftentimes, what replaces that is just this very thin, newly planted tree, which makes sense. I understand, but is there anyone that can touch on sort of the practical concerns as it relate or possibilities in planting a more sort of grown tree there, if you will? Because it seems to me that if you plant a new tree, as we typically do, it's going to take many, many, many years to realize the benefits of that tree, for example. And so I'm not sure if anyone can speak to that ability to do that.
We do know all of that. It's our city arborist, Russ Hansen, is on the call, but I don't know if we want to get into, because it's all about different species, growth rates, locations, how you're going to, maintain it, plant it.
So it depends.
Yeah, there's a large body of knowledge.
All right.
Starting small, how fast they grow.
Okay. Yeah, we don't need to get into that. So it seems like it's possible in certain circumstances. I would hope that as we as a city go down and approach this and try to fix this, that we do everything possible to replace large trees with large trees to the extent possible instead of planting trees, starting from scratch, if you will. So just wanted to share that. And I appreciate all the comments. I think the pictures are worth 1,000 words, and I share the same concerns, having grown up in East San Jose and not experiencing that. But I think it's up to us, especially the newly elected council members are going to be here longer than some of us to really help solve this and move this forward. So thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, and actually, Councilmember Menez covered many of the points, which is good. Just one last couple brief ones. Obviously, the purpose of the in lieu fee is to replace trees that have been removed, but I think where we replace them is important, and I think we just have to keep that in mind. It doesn't necessarily have to be replaced right there. We need to find the best place. Councilmember Davis told me a story that actually stuck with me when we were writing this memo, which was about trees getting removed in a park in D6. Sometimes there's too much density of trees, and you remove a tree for that reason. You're not going to plant a new tree then there in that same park. You're going to go find another park somewhere in the city that needs a tree, but we should be held accountable to do that and say, where is a park in the city that needs a tree? If this other park is getting one removed, we're going to go put it there. And so I think we have to be thinking along those lines. And then just back to the sidewalk question. Obviously, many of us get a lot of concerns from residents about the sidewalk expenses, the fact that the city, San Jose, has an ordinance, and I know it is our ordinance, and I understand why, that the residents are responsible, but then the residents are told you can't remove a tree. What we've done is we've created a perverse incentive for people to remove trees because the trees are damaging their sidewalk, and then they'd be charged for the fixing of the sidewalk. And then because our permits are so high to ask them to have removed the tree, they don't go get a permit to do it. We don't know what's happening, and we can't keep count of the trees and actually have an accountable process. And so that's kind of the reason why I think it's important for us to, for item number, if I can remember which number is which in our memo, the number 6, it's important to think about this holistically, right? And it goes back to Councilmember Torres' suggestion. How do we make sure that the residents are best served while our goal of keeping a robust tree canopy is also served? And that's not so easy, but that's really the purpose behind it. I just wanted to mention that. Thank you.
Thanks, Councilmember. And I think Councilmember Torres, you may have the last word.
It's just a clarifying question. With Councilmember Ortiz's asking Councilmember Cohen's friendly amendment, we are effectively erasing or taking away recommendation number 5 in Councilmembers Cohen's, Davis, and Jimenez's memo, or we're just adding to the threshold that the Councilmember Ortiz asked for.
Councilmember Cohen, do you want to restate your understanding of?
Yeah, we're adding to it. Just we're saying we're still keeping that 50%, but we're saying that for the rest of the money, we want to explicitly have a policy that allocates it according to greatest need in the city.
Okay. That's what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you again for an excellent audit report. Appreciate it. Thank you all for the great discussion and recommendations. Let's vote.
I'm still waiting on Cohen.
Excellent. Unanimous vote once again. Awesome. Okay, thanks everybody. We are on to item 3.4, council appointments. And I just want to make sure everyone saw the replacement memo. I'll just say a couple words to kind of tee this up, and then we'll go to public comment. We issued the replacement memo. I'm going to just highlight a couple of very small changes. We'd seen some conflicting titles for the Mayor's Gang Prevention Task Force, which was in fact renamed to the San Jose Youth Empowerment Alliance. We just want to make sure we had the proper name for the task force. So that was updated. The Stevens Creek Steering Committee is again an updated name, and I'm sorry I don't have the earlier version now in front of me. But that is, no, that's the updated version, thank you. So that is the other update, is the name of the Stevens Creek Steering Committee. Whatever was there before was incorrect. And then finally, we learned, thank you to staff for flagging this, we as you know, because we have vacancies in District 8 and 10, we were leaving some of the seats vacant. But we were told that because of an upcoming meeting, we should not leave the California Cities Gaming Association seats open. So we went ahead and I went ahead and made some recommendations there. So those are the only changes. I just wanted to make clear it was a couple of naming changes and then just the feedback from staff on the Gaming Association board. If anyone has questions about any of the changes, we'll of course answer those. In general, let me just say a couple of things. You know, this is really an exercise in trying to minimize disappointment, as you all know. I'm sure our returning members are well aware. Everybody wants to be on rules, everybody wants to be on VTA, and we do our best. I tried to do my best to balance experience, geographic diversity, gender and racial and ethnic diversity, people's stated preferences, how strongly members stated their preference was via the Google form that our office put out. So really tried to balance a lot of different interests. I will say, as I think is typically the practice, I had a bias toward keeping returning members on committees and boards and commissions on which they've been serving when they expressed an interest in continuing to serve. I think having that institutional memory is valuable. On a board like VTA, where very significant decisions about billions of dollars in funding for major capital projects are made. I think having experienced council members who have the existing working relationship with colleagues and with city staff and don't need any ramp-up time makes sense. So again, it's hard, it's impossible to give everybody every appointment that they want, but we engaged my team, and I want to thank my team for staffing me through this, engaged in a lot of one-on-one conversations with each of the council members to put forward the recommendations in Exhibit A and B. So much so that I declined to appoint myself to any committees because there was so much interest from my colleagues in serving on each of these committees and wanted to maximize opportunities to do that. I also want to just flag, I mentioned the point about vacancies. On the standing committees, we left one vacancy as recommended by, actually I believe as required by the city attorney. We left one vacancy on each of those committees so that they would in fact be committees, not a meeting of the council. So that's a little bit of context. Look forward to any questions or conversation. I'm aware that there was a late memo that came in, so we'll discuss that, but why don't we go to public comment first?
Mimi from Prosperity Lab.
Hi, good afternoon. This is Mimi Hernandez, Prosperity Lab. We're a nonprofit that serves small businesses, mainly in East and downtown San Jose, West and North Side as well. We are calling in favor of the amendment um, presented by Councilmember Ortiz. We would love to see him appointed to the Community and Development Committee, as well as to the DTA Board of Directors. As you have known, if you're familiar with the story, Alum Rock has a lot of projects as well as East Ridge and the East Side. We really need to have representation, authentic representation. The policies and what folks and small businesses. We also would like to have him appointed Community Economic Development Committee, as this committee has historically not have Latinx in a very diverse body, and we want to make sure that they represent. We want to thank everyone for your consideration. There's work to be done, and
Mimi, we've lost your audio. Okay, I'm going to move on.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to Kat.
Hi, thank you. This is Kat De Silva. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Great. So, thank you. Thank you. So I am here just asking for in positive with Peter's memo and to have him represent to be on those two committees and represent D5. D5 is a valuable voice. And we need representation, similar to what Mimi was saying. I am a member of the RVAC Neighborhood Association, Alum Rock Village Action Committee, and live in D5 and work and play in D5. And so I am supporting Peter Ortiz for those two committees.
Okay.
I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Zoom user. Zoom user. Okay, I see you're unmuted, but we are not hearing you.
Oh, is this me? I apologize. My name is Tamara Sanchez, and I fully support Peter Ortiz in doing everything. This is why I started volunteering and canvassing, because he's an individual that cares about our district. And I've worked around District 5. I've done everything. And individuals like him are needed in our community. As I worked in affordable housing, and he was part of this community. He's exactly what we need in our transfer of our transportation and everything, because he cares. He's an individual that is unlike another, and he believes in us. And I've lived in this area for like 15 years and worked in it longer. And this is the individual that genuinely hears you. And we need people like him, because he's been with the union, he's been with everyone, and he has genuinely heard every single concern that I voiced regarding East San Jose. And mayhem you have too, and I appreciate that. And I would hope that you guys can provide Peter the support that's needed in order to help our communities in East San Jose.
Elizabeth.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth, and I'm in support of the memo written by Councilmember Ortiz in D5. And I'm fully supportive of him being appointed to these boards, and it's extremely important. I think, in particular, about VTA and transportation, and I know, myself being someone who's Black and Latina, that we are predominantly using these modes of transportation, specifically the bus and the light rail, and to get to where we need to go. I don't have a car, and I know growing up, we always struggled with cars, being able to afford them or maintain good cars. And so we relied on VTA transportation, the bus, to get around, as is true with so many of our people of color, so many of our seniors, so many of our people with both mental and physical disabilities. And I feel like Councilmember Ortiz is a really unique person in terms of his upbringing and being a native to the East Side and to San Jose, and we need that type of representation on this board. Someone who people who actually use these services can relate to and rely on. And so I fully support the memo that he has written and submitted. Thank you.
Victoria?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, yes, my name is Victoria Partida, and I'm calling in support for the memo from Councilmember Ortiz for him to be appointed to the Community and Economic Development Committee, and then for the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board. Thank you.
Vicky?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for hearing me today. My name is Vicki Muller-Olvera, and I'm calling in support of Councilmember Ortiz memo. And I respectfully request that you approve the appointment of Councilmember Ortiz to the Community and Economic Development Committee, as well as the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board as a member at large. Thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you.
Veronica?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Veronica Guzman, and I am just bottom line calling in support of Mr. Peter Ortiz memo. I have no doubt that he will be the best person for both committees. As you guys seen, he has done an amazing job, born and raised in East San Jose. He's only looking out for his people in our community there. So please, I will urge you to appoint this man as soon as possible. Thank you.
Jeremy?
Good afternoon. This is Jeremy Barus, Director of Policy and Organizing for Amigos de Guadalupe. I'm calling in support of the memo authored by Councilmember Ortiz to appoint him to the VTA and Community and Economic Development Board. Just as a District 5 council member, it's imperative that we bring that District 5 East San Jose lens to those boards, and that East San Jose has a seat at the table. So I highly recommend appointing Councilmember Ortiz to these critical boards. Thank you.
Jose?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I'm just calling, just like everybody else, to support the memorandum of Peter Ortiz, the recommendation that we approve appointment for him to the Community Economic Development Committee, as well as strongly consider the appointment to the Santa Clara Valley Transportation Authority Board. I'm in support of this, and I hope you guys support it as well. Thank you.
Veronica?
Hi, everyone. My name is Veronica, and I'm a District 5 community member and leader. And I also here
urging you to appoint and support the memo for Councilmember Peter Ortiz. As many have said, it is crucial for his appointment to bring that equity and lens into these two boards. And again, I'm here to support his memo and continue on supporting him through this journey. Thank you.
Back to council.
Great, thank you. Appreciate the public comment, and Councilor Ortiz, appreciate your memo and desire to serve on both VTA and CED. Totally understand, appreciate that. As I mentioned, in trying to juggle the different preferences, I think part of what made this difficult is the need to keep a vacancy on each of these committees until we've seated the full council. So unless there's a proposal, could be a motion to make a switch, a specific switch for an existing person who's been recommended here, I don't have the ability, we don't have the ability to do much. So we need to understand your recommendation more fully. I don't think we can adopt your memo as written.
Excuse me, I did receive a card.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please.
We didn't get it. Karen
Okay,
Martinez.
we're still on public comment. Apologies.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No problem. Come on
Karen
forward.
Martinez.
Hi.
Hello, good afternoon. I will be brief. My name is Karen Martinez, and I sit on the Evergreen San Jose City Community College Board. And I also live in D5. And I do want to ask all of you, I understand that because of vacancies, however, East San Jose in the district that I reside in is always overlooked and underserved. So I am asking you to please make sure that my council member, Mr. Ortiz, is actually appointed for this position, because I'm actually in the process right now, and I'm on the committee to do an expansion of our community college. And this will be a critical point for us with regards to transportation. So again, we're always underserved. And so I'm really looking forward to working with whomever, which I believe and I hope that it is my council member Ortiz, so that we can address this issue. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Did we have any other public comment? Okay, great. So back to council discussion. I'm going to go to the list here. And I believe Councilmember Davis had to exit, so let me go to Councilmember Foley.
Thank you. And thank you, Mayor, for really attempting to please all of us with all of our committee assignments. That must have been a tremendous task, having to come up with the list of people who were going to fill slots, and then knowing that you had to keep some slots open because of Brown Act considerations until we have the 2 council seats. So as the chair of CED, I hope you can get appointed at some point, Peter, but until we have a full council, unfortunately, that isn't possible, but that could be sooner than later. So I'd love to have you there if I have anything to do with it at that particular point. I do want to thank you for all you did. This is my, I guess, 3rd time going around with committee assignments, and the first time you put in your list and you think, oh, I want all of these things, and you get none of them, and it's very disappointing because the veterans get them. And I guess as a veteran, that's where I fall into right now too, and I am excited to have the opportunities that I have in the various committees, and I thank you for that. So with that, I will move your memo.
Thank you, Councilmember. Do we have a second?
Second.
Great. Councilmember Ortiz.
No, thank you, Mayor. And I want to start my comments by thanking Mayor Matt Mahan and his work in advancing the efficiency of our city. And I'm sure that, like myself, we're all eager to delve into the work at hand, because we all know that, with the storm and everything else, there's several issues facing our communities, and we need to get started hitting the pavement. I'd be lying, obviously I submitted a memo in regards to it, but I'd be lying if I didn't express my disappointment in seeing that I was not recommended to serve on the VTA Board of Directors or the Community and Economic Development Committee. As demonstrated by the Alum Rock Bus Rapid Transit Project, for those who know, transportation infrastructure and development have been done in ways that have resulted in the displacement of people of color-owned businesses and neighborhoods. There exists a critical need to ensure that the lessons from BRT, but the BRT issue are not lost, right? I hold these understandings close, and I believe I would appreciate the opportunity to serve on the board, and that I may bring that lens to meetings and decisions made by the VTA board. You know, for decades, the east side of San Jose has been the heart of working class families in this city. East side laborers historically toiled in the fields and in the canneries, serving as the unrecognized economic engine of our city. Be it our small businesses, our working class families, the fruits of our labor have raised San Jose to the international status of the capital of Silicon Valley. Now, during the COVID-19 crisis, working class families from East San Jose were those essential workers that kept this city afloat, despite them being the most impacted by the virus. Many workers risked infection and unfortunately succumbed to loss of life. Just released today by the governor's budget shows an economic shortfall of $22 billion. Point blank, our economy will face challenges in the coming years, and it's important that we keep East San Jose priorities and well-beings close to the work here at City Hall. Now, given the rich spirit of entrepreneurship, perseverance during COVID-19 and looming economic recession, I feel it's befitting that East San Jose would have its place on these two commissions, right? And I struggled before introducing this memo, right? Because I don't want to start debates or disagreements so early, but East San Jose matters. Our families and residents deserve a say, right? And for three council members, the last three council members since 2008, East San Jose has had a voice on VTA. It wasn't until this administration that our voice was silenced. And so I just wanted to make sure that that was on the record. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Kameh.
Thank you. I just wanted to point out on the Stevens Creek Steering Committee, it's also Councilmember Davis who's on it as well with me. So I just wanted to point that out just for clarification. There's just the two of us on there.
I see. And just to clarify, the replacement memo.
The Stevens Creek Steering Committee?
Yes, I have it. And the replacement memo memo lost one of the cells in the sheet. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes. Okay. So that there are two of us on the steering committee.
I see.
And then the other thing I wanted to ask is more of a process question. And clearly, we understand that Councilmember Ortiz is interested in the CE&D committee. And in terms of process, after we sit the two remaining districts that are vacant, then these committees will come back to us to fill the vacancies in that? Is that the process? After the appointments,
then we'll come back with a second round of recommendations for the vacant seats.
Okay. What I would suggest is to have Councilmember Ortiz, knowing that he is very interested in this, in that vacancy, and that's something that we could highly consider, knowing that it's something that he cares about.
It's certainly noted, and just to be clear on standing committees, Councilmember Ortiz has two assignments, which is the norm. There are a couple of council members who have three, but most council members have two, and he's currently recommended for T&E and then NSE, and that was just the way that the puzzle pieces fit together. If anyone on CED, wanted to switch with Councilmember Ortiz, that would be fine with me. I did my best to kind of manage people's preferences. On the vacancies, given that we will have two new council members, I think we would do well to keep those vacant. In fact, for Brown Act reasons, we need to. I'd rather not commit us today until we've made those appointments and have some understanding of the experience and preferences of those council members, but very much noted that Councilmember Ortiz strongly wants to serve on CED, and I appreciate that.
Because I think that, some of us did not receive what we had hoped for in terms of committees. So I certainly respect that and know that he brings a lot of value to the committee.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
And just on that point, I want to be clear, no one received everything they wanted. There was disappointment across the board. In fact, CED was oversubscribed, VTA had almost everyone request it, rules had almost everyone request it. This was clear across the board on VTA. I felt at this moment, given some of the conversations we're having, it's very important for the downtown council member to have a voice on VTA at this moment, given some of the decisions we're making. That was the logic there. But always trade-offs, and understand we're not going to be able to make everybody happy. Councilmember Torres, you're up next.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilmember Ortiz and our District 5 and East Side residents who called to talk. So I appreciate Councilmember Ortiz's desire and willingness to serve, and I know him very, very well, and believe me, he's ready to do the work and ready to serve. And so it is very important that we support District 5 and Councilmember Ortiz's efforts to move the needle on so many critical issues. And so I wholeheartedly support his memo. I just have two real quick questions. I do know that CED meets on January 23rd. And we have one vacancy obviously on CED, and I know many of our committees that we are going to be appointed to right now they'll start meeting in February, right? Is there a way for us to push back, I believe, CED, so we can possibly have Councilmember Ortiz on CED, especially since our council appointments will be that week? I'm sure we can hold off until we officially get District 8 and officially get District 10 onboarded, and then we can have officially a full city council meeting to appoint Councilmember Ortiz to CED?
The council's able to make whatever motions it would like, and we vote and decide as a body. I would recommend that we leave the motion on the floor as is. I think we may appoint 2 council members and find that we have other equity issues if we've already started to commit some of these vacant seats in advance. We may be putting ourselves in a situation where an appointee only gets 1 seat while others have 3 on standing committees. I think that's a risk. I do want to just note, council members are always welcome to can always join meetings as a participant, and I've spoken in council meetings on which I'm not a standing member. I've attended when there are items on the agenda that I'm interested in, or if I have brought a memo forward to a committee that I don't serve on. I know this is true for many of my colleagues. We do, when it's a relevant item, participate we have a mechanism. We are able to participate in committees on which we're not officially appointed as a voting member.
All right,
there's already a way to do that.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So then can I offer that as a friendly amendment then? Can I offer that as can CED hold off until we have a full city council, and then we can go back and make sure that Councilmember Ortiz is appointed to CED?
I'm not sure that's a friendly amendment, actually, because CED committee doesn't relate to the appointments. So, but I defer to the attorney on that, because I don't know if that's possible.
I believe the meetings have already been set for the year, so that would be a little bit tough, and their scheduling is set out in the rules of conduct resolution also. So unless for some reason the committee wanted to vote to not meet or to have a meeting and not take up anything substantively, it would be a little bit difficult. I don't know when their first meeting is scheduled, though, exactly, but I think someone said it's before
January 23rd.
Yeah.
And then our appointments are January 24th and 26th.
Right. And then it affects staff and the work they're doing and things like that also, to start to try to move around the schedule a bit.
Okay, great.
So I just want to clarify. So the committee work plans have not gone to rules yet. We're planning on going very shortly, but if if there was a desire not to have the January meeting, it would most likely need to be canceled and then moved that work to February, which will make more heavier work plans for the remainder of the year. But that's, I just want to be clear that they have the actual committee work plans have not been approved yet by the city council because we were waiting for the ultimate committees to be decided today.
Great, thanks for that. Sorry, Councilmember, did you have anything else?
Do not, but I just want to, maybe I'll just vote on the memo.
Okay,
And
we still have a couple.
We can figure it out, yeah.
Okay, great. Let me just make two other very brief notes, and then we'll continue on with the conversation. One is not only was everyone disappointed, unfortunately, and most of these oversubscribed, our team kept a tracker of how many requests there were, how many we were able to accommodate, how many we were unable to accommodate, and then how many overall assignments everyone had. So we tracked very closely to do our very best to give people an equitable set of assignments. And I think if you go back and do the math, you will see that we were very thoughtful about the distribution and minimizing how many times we had to disappoint people. But I assure you, everyone was disappointed a number of times and a roughly equal number of times. I also just wanted to note, given Councilmember Ortiz's interest in VTA, I made a very explicit decision to put him on 3 of the 4 VTA advisory boards. So of the VTA advisory policy boards, Councilmember Ortiz will be serving on 3 of those, and I hope weighing in regularly and helping to shape VTA policy, and I think puts him in a great position to serve on the board the next time there's an opening. So I just wanted to share that was part of the thought process here as well. Councilmember Cohen?
Yeah, just a few things. First, a quick question for Nora on Brown Act. Since we have a Brown Act limit of 4 people, wouldn't one of the 5 people appointed to VTA have to not attend the first VTA meeting because that would be a Brown Act violation since there's a VTA meeting in January before we fill our vacancies?
Good question. The Brown Act concern, it has more to do with items that would be coming to the council. So I don't know if anything on that VTA agenda might ultimately be coming to the council. So that's the primary concern. You have a majority of council members, given that we have the 9, who would be seated on the standing committees.
Yeah.
Not knowing exactly what might be on that agenda. There are Brown Act risks, obviously, but I don't know if they're as potentially acute as the standing committees.
I mean, it's probably a minor issue, but I assume that we would not be allowed by the Brown Act to have 6 or 7 appointees to VTA because the Brown Act says a majority can't be participating in a public meeting together in any event, regardless. Right. So anyway, just a question. If we can figure that, you can figure that out between now and the VTA meeting, I guess. To the question of who should serve on VTA, I mean, originally, of course, for a long time, District 4 always had a seat on VTA, and I had considered it seriously, but actually didn't want the time commitment of serving on VTA, so did not request VTA. Given that there's a BART station and 2 major VTA lines in North San Jose, I've always felt kind of bad that I'm not requesting a spot on VTA. I had always thought, though, it was important for somebody either in District 4 or District 5 to be on VTA, if not both. But I do support the idea that District 5 should, given that what's coming in District 5, be on VTA. I don't have a recommendation, obviously, about which one of the other 5 should therefore not be on VTA, and I don't want to get involved in that. I will suggest that there still can be at any time room for trading between council members of committees, and we should maybe let the dust settle for a few weeks and then figure out how to make those trades as we fill the council and decide where people are going to be. And maybe that's a better solution than trying to say now who's going to be in the vacancies, et cetera.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I want to be clear. I have no agenda here. I'm trying to minimize disappointment, as I said at the beginning. Yeah. We will have a second round of this as we seat the other 2 council members and relook at appointments and try to fill the remaining vacancies. That might be a perfect opportunity for folks to come back with recommendations.
And certainly at any time, somebody could say, hey, maybe I really don't want to be on this committee that I got on, and they'd be wanting to switch anyway. So, I mean, it's possible. And we did, just for perspective of new council members, a couple years ago, we had somebody say, you know, this is a conflict, I don't want to be on this one, even though they had been appointed to it, and we, at this meeting, made some swaps live. So it's not, wouldn't be unprecedented for members to speak up and say, hey, here's a spot that I'm willing to give up. As far as the vacancies on the committees, I just want to keep in mind that we have 2 new people getting appointed, and I think it's important that each of them serve on 2 committees. So given that there's 4 vacancies plus rules, and we can decide whether, you know, who the right person for the 5th rule spot is, we shouldn't necessarily fill any of those vacancies because we need to seat those people. That to me would be a tougher sell to start filling that 5th spot now, because we want to see who the new people are and which committees they should serve on.
Great. Wonderful. Councilor Jimenez.
Yeah, I just wanted to offer my colleague Peter Ortiz an early Christmas present, or a late Christmas present, early birthday present, and say that I'm happy to get off CED and actually let you take my seat. So I'll get off. So, but I would caution you and be careful what you wish for, because you're doing a lot already. And so, but anyway, so I'll come off CED. So I'll just add that to the motion. And I was just thinking about this even before the meeting. Just it's been going on in my head, and so I'm already doing a lot of other stuff as well. And so I think I have no problem. The only commitment I would like from my colleagues is as long as you don't add me to any other committee. When we're going through a few other rounds, because I'm already on rules and public safety. So anyways, that'd be a modification or an amendment to the motion.
Thank you, Councilmember. Appreciate that. Great. All right, we're halfway there. Awesome.
I just want to thank.
Go ahead. Yes.
I just want to thank you, Councilmember Jimenez. You know, as I mentioned, I struggled with introducing this memo, but you know, I wanted to make sure that the voices of our residents and our business owners were heard on these committees, and I know that it's not easy for a council member to give that up, and so I appreciate that. And given that I am taking a CED, I'm happy to make room for one of our appointed council members for another committee or commission that I'm on, so we could have that conversation.
Yeah, great. Do you mind serving on these for now?
Yeah, sure,
Great.
yeah.
Thank you. Okay, great. And then thank you again, Councilor Jimenez. That was great. Just to go back to clarifying the Stephen Creek Steering Committee, I got some clarification here from the official memo and resolution. The wording is that the City of San Jose appoints the District 1 council member and a policy advisory committee created to oversee and coordinate these efforts. That's referring to the Stevens Creek, so that makes sense. So Councilor Kamei will be there. There is no second appointment, but jurisdictions may invite multiple electeds unofficially to sit in. So that's why it's not in the memo here. That's an unofficial. That's not actually an appointment. So the memo is in fact correct on that point. Okay, I think we're there. Anything else? Okay, let's vote. Awesome, another unanimous vote. Thank you all, and we are on to burrowing owls. Sorry, more specifically, 6.1, the agreement with the Santa Clara Valley Habitat Agency to establish a conservation easement.
Move approval.
Second.
Great. Why don't we go to public comment?
Waiting to see if a hand goes up, and no hands are going up.
Great. Back to my colleagues. Just want to check to make sure I don't see any hands up. Okay, let's vote. Excellent. Okay. So to newly sworn in council members, welcome to City Council. We're thrilled to have you here. You have almost gotten through your first council meeting. We're on to open forum.
I have Ted Smith in person. I don't see anybody coming down, so Ted may have left, so I'm going to move to Zoom. I have Zoom user. And this is a Zoom user who did not put a name down. It's just generic Zoom user, so you should receive a pop-up that says you're being asked to speak. And Zoom user, you're unmuted, but we're not hearing you.
All right, so basically, this is an issue that individuals should not be voted upon. There are more individuals that should speak up on issues, and I don't understand how you are not genuinely helping your districts. If you shouldn't just go as a matter of fact. And these are serious concerns because our issues, whether it's transit, whether it's whatever, and those are the issues that I've brought up to different council members. And thankfully, there are people that trust women like us that believe in us. And I don't understand. Like I I did the meetings with Deb in different places, and you guys do not do your job. And there are very few individuals that actually do. So I do sure hope that you guys like assign the right individuals to help in affordable housing and to help in our different communities, because I did go to different meetings and tried checking in with you. And there are very few of you that actually took my calls.
Carlin?
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Carlin Obringer. I do government community engagement for Blue Shield of California. And I just wanted to express my congratulations to the new mayor, as well as to all of the new council members and newly sworn in council members. And just on behalf of Blue Shield of California, we congratulate you and look forward to continuing to work with you in 2023 to address social determinants of health and improve the quality of life and health for those who are most vulnerable. Thank you very much.
Back to the council.
All right, everybody, we're adjourned. Have a great rest of the day. Yeah. Not bad. 4:30. Yeah.